Hello everyone, this is Kingrats here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Back with another episode for the NHL right now, as we are closing in on the final stages of the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs, and that means that the NHL offseason is fast approaching, and there are a couple of things that we probably need to discuss. Of course, we have the NHL draft coming up, and then free agency kicks in this July, and we do have a decent free agent class for this offseason, but we also have a number of restricted free agents who could become potential offer sheet candidates. And of course, we've got some pretty good discussion that we can make on a couple of notable guys in the NHL who might be exposed for potential offer sheets. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining 5 NHLers who could be eligible for an offer sheet this offseason in regards to their overall play and why exactly they might leave their respective organizations at this very moment. This, of course, boils down to money, change of scenery, more opportunity, something like that. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of reasons why I'm making this video and for all of these respective players, but I'm going to try my best to analyze each of their situations and explain why they might be eligible for an offer sheet this offseason. Of course, if you guys like this type of content, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content if you like this one, and without further ado, let's get into it. My first player I've got on my list is Matthew Knies. Of course, we can't talk about this video without looking at arguably the most valuable RFA this offseason in Matthew Knies, coming off of a career high season with the Toronto Maple Leafs, putting up 58 points in the regular season this year and having another pretty solid postseason. So Knies has played about 3 years in the NHL. He essentially entered the league at the end of the 2022-23 season and had more of a showing in the playoffs that year, helping the Leafs win their first playoff series in quite a long time. And then following that, he has put up pretty decent regular season numbers. In his rookie year, he had 35 points. This season, he had 58 points, and he has routinely showed up in the postseason and has had a great tenacious style of play that has allowed him to thrive when it matters most. He is coming off of a rookie contract that hasn't really paid him too much money compared to NHL standards, and he is very well due for a pretty decent pay raise. Now, why I think Knies is eligible for an offer sheet this offseason is really because of kind of 2 reasons. Number one is regarding the Leafs organization. Right now, the franchise is at an inflection point, considering that they might be losing 2 of their core 4 in Mitch Marner and John Tavares this offseason, and the Leafs had tons of cap space to reinforce the roster, and they are going to need to pay some guys. And Knies right now is eligible for a pretty decent contract. I think his market value is probably somewhere between $6 and $9 million, give or take, depending on which franchise he could very well sign with. And considering the situation in Toronto right now, he could maybe see the organization as maybe not a great place to be, considering that it kind of has a bleak future without this core. There is potential that he could be an offer sheet candidate. I'm not saying it's a given, but it's not like he's arbitration eligible, which would nullify the possibility of him being offer sheeted. And if the money is right, he could very well leave entirely, especially considering that draft pick compensation has gone up this year with the new rules being set. If Knies gets a pretty hefty cap hit for his next big contract, the Leafs could be very well interested in letting him go if the draft pick compensation is just right. Number 2 I have is Marco Rossi. So Marco Rossi has had a very good season in Minnesota this year. He's coming off of a career high of 60 points, 24 goals, having a pretty good year in Minnesota and averaging about 18 minutes of ice time in every game in the regular season. He did play the entire season, by the way, but this postseason, he basically was a non-factor. He was pretty much not really helpful for Minnesota in the playoffs at all, that he basically got demoted to the 4th line and was barely playing 11 minutes a night in the first round exit of the Minnesota Wild against the Vegas Golden Knights. Of course, check out my video on that. When it comes to Rossi and why I think he could be eligible for an offer sheet this year is really because of, once again, kind of something internally with the organization and also with regards to his opportunity. The thing with Rossi is that he did take advantage of a Minnesota roster that did get depleted by injuries a little bit earlier in the season, and that allowed him to really boost his numbers overall. And he has incrementally gotten better as the years have gone by. But once the team became healthy, he kind of went just down the lineup. Now, if he does stay in Minnesota, the Wild pretty much have one of the deeper center depths in the entire league, and it would be a good idea for maybe him to stick around on what has been a proven perennial playoff appearer. But the biggest concern is regarding his opportunity. the thing is that Minnesota is going into an offseason where they really haven't had much cap space like this in a while, and that's mainly because they're finally going to be out of the hell of the buyout cap hits for Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, which officially go down significantly this coming offseason. And it already has been reported that the Minnesota Wild front office is planning on going big game hunting in free agency to help reinforce the roster right now, and Rossi's current spot in the lineup might be in jeopardy. If the Wild decide to reinforce their forward group, then Rossi might get hit down the depth charts and his overall opportunity with the organization might diminish. And as a result, he could very well see maybe a better opportunity with another organization entirely. His cap hit, I would say, arguably right now for his market value is probably somewhere between $3 and $6 million, which isn't too bad for what he has done so far. And it could look like an absolute steal if he somehow pops off significantly within the next couple seasons, considering the cap is going up. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. And really, it comes down to what Minnesota decides to do this offseason, in my opinion. Number 3, we have Noah Dobson. This is a situation that I don't think many people were going to be thinking about a year ago right now, considering that Dobson was coming off of a 70-point regular season with the New York Islanders last year. But considering that this season has been a complete 180, he had a massive down year, just 39 points. The Islanders missed the playoffs again. They got lucky in the draft lottery, winning the first overall pick and having the opportunity to draft a generational future talent in Matthew Schaefer first overall. There is a possibility that Noah Dobson's future with the organization as the top D-man could be in jeopardy as well. I think Dobson is a guy who probably could stick around in Long Island a lot longer. He's only 25 years old, coming off of a decent contract where he was getting paid about $4 million a year, which was an absolute steal for a guy who can put up some pretty good points and has a proven playoff record because he was part of the Islanders' earlier playoff runs in this current decade. But I think the reason why he might be prone to an offer sheet is mainly because of the direction the organization takes here. I do think that the Islanders have a choice as to whether or not they want to rebuild. They have one of the older rosters in the league. They don't have many big prospects. They're also going through a major shift at the front office position as they finally got rid of Lou Lamoriello, who was their GM and president, and they brought in rookie Matthew Darche, who was the assistant GM in Tampa Bay, to run their operations right now. So they very well could maybe pursue a rebuild at this very moment, and Dobson could fetch a pretty good price in the trade market. So, of course, if he was interested in maybe getting a change of scenery, he could very well just go for an offer sheet already and sign for a decent cap hit. He could probably take a cheaper contract right now, considering the down year he had, and hope that he just rebounds for next season. I don't know, but either way, this could be maybe one of those sneaky players who could very well go for an offer sheet this offseason. Number 4 I have is Nicolas Hague. So Nicolas Hague has had quite a lot of experience in his overall career. He is 26 years old, so he is actually the oldest guy I'll be talking about in this entire video, but he's got tons of playoff success. He's also a few years removed from a 51-point career season in the regular season with the Vegas Golden Knights, and he won a Stanley Cup with them in 2023. He is a very effective shutdown defenseman who can put up points offensively. He's got a big body, so he can throw the body whenever he needs to. For a guy who's got all kinds of experience and is still relatively young on a Golden Knights roster that is filled with veteran talent and star players, he could maybe be seeing out the door. I'm not sure what Vegas decides to do this offseason, considering that they're still kind of in, not a great situation right now when it comes to their cap space into this offseason. And Hague is coming off of a pretty decent 3-year contract where he was getting paid around $2 to $3 million at the very least. And he could maybe get a decent pay raise. His current role right now is most likely somewhere between a top 4 and top 6 D-man. For Vegas, he was mostly in the top 6 role, but he played that role pretty solidly. He's not great on analytics. I mean, this year it was definitely a down year for him, but in the past he's been pretty solid in the major offensive and defensive categories. And he could very well bounce back, as he has been in a bit of a state of decline for the last 2 seasons in points, but he's still probably good for around 40 to 50 points a year if he's healthy. I do think that, considering the situation with Vegas and their cap space right now, if a team wants to really build up their blue line, Hague might be one of the young guys that could very well get targeted this offseason, especially if the cap hit is relatively fair. I'm pretty sure right now, I would say he's probably somewhere between $3 and $4.5 million, depending on where exactly he goes. But I certainly think that whoever gets him would it would be a very good improvement for their blue line. And last but not least, I have Philipp Kurashev. So Kurashev is also one of the older guys in this video. He's 25 years old and he's had a lot of time in the NHL, notably with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's coming off a contract that paid him about $2.25 million a season for the last 2 years. And unfortunately with Kurashev, he might be one of the more bargain bin RFA players for this offseason, mainly because his production has declined in Chicago this year alone. Last year he had a career year with the introduction of Connor Bedard into the organization, but this year his production completely nosedived. I think he got like 11 points or something like that, and he only played like 51 games. That's probably due to a combination of injuries and also the fact that he just underperformed and kept getting knocked down the lineup within the team throughout the season. I think most of the time he was playing somewhere around like third, fourth line minutes for the Blackhawks, which are still not a team that necessarily has the greatest pieces of talent available to them. Of course, there is Connor Bedard, but outside of that, the supporting cast is kind of weak, if you ask me. Now, why Kurashev could be valuable for an offer sheet is really depending on how he sees things. He has seen a lot of losing in Chicago over the last couple years, and considering that this rebuild is far from over, he might be interested in a change of scenery that could maybe provide him some better opportunity and probably more insurance to play. He does have talent and he can be effective at the NHL level. It just depends on the situation for him and what guys really work with him. I think the big thing is that Chicago really needs to build up their supporting cast, and Kurashev can be a part of the rebuild because he's still very young, but at the same time, he needs probably a few players in particular that can give him more of a sheltered role in the forward group and can really help him thrive on the offensive side of the game. I think he's probably worth a good prove-it deal for a potential offer sheet or whatnot, considering that the draft pick compensation only kicks in at around $1.5 million plus for a cap hit. He could very well be exposed for an offer sheet if the Blackhawks don't see him as part of their future plans, and if another organization thinks that they can maybe tap out some untapped potential from Kurashev. So we'll have to see. But yeah, anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this one. Thank you so much, and I will see you all in my next video.